Hey everyone, my name's Tyra. I'm a 22-year-old muscle girl and personal trainer, and this is my story about how I fell in love with my client. Cameron was just so goofy and lovable. Quickly, he became one of my favorite clients, and I was developing a little crush on him. One day, we jogged almost 3 miles together on the beach. The ocean was beautiful, and something about being with him felt so right. We started talking like friends. Cameron told me that he was recently single. He found out that his girlfriend cheated on him, and now he was trying to reinvent himself and get back into shape. He'd talk about the relationship a little, but soon he'd slip back into the goofy side of his personality and change the subject. He began wandering down this pier made of stones like he was the Karate Kid or something. When he tried to do the crane kick position at the end, he slipped and fell into the ocean. I immediately ran after him and dove into the waves. I swam him back and helped him cough up the water he swallowed. He was okay, but he was looking at me funny after. He kept saying that I was his hero, but he ended up saving me a little while later. When I returned to my car, it was nowhere to be found. I parked on the street, but then it just disappeared. At first, I thought someone stole it, but then Cameron pointed out the sign behind a palm tree that I didn't notice. Where I parked was a tow-away zone, and I had to ask Cameron for a ride. I was irritated at myself for missing the sign, but Cameron cheered me up and treated me to breakfast. We eventually found our way to the garage that was holding my car hostage for ransom and rescued it. That night, I found myself thinking about Cameron, and we started texting back and forth. Soon, the texts turned to long talks. We chatted all the time now, and our workouts were starting to feel like dates. It was one of those kinds of crushes that made my stomach get fluttery. I wanted to be with him, but I knew he was still getting over his ex, and I didn't want to scare him away. One evening, I came by his place for a training session. We were going to jog all the way to the gym, but when I got there, he was in the middle of an argument with his ex-girlfriend, who was there for a box of her stuff. They were fighting like toddlers, and when I showed up, I think it made things worse. His ex, Charlotte, was calling me his muscle girlfriend and didn't seem to have anything nice to say. He deserved better, so I told her she should go. She did eventually, but not without getting in my face. Cameron was embarrassed and too distracted to work out. I just want this day to be over. Wouldn't you rather me cheer you up? I asked. How are you going to cheer me up? There was a traveling carnival passing through, and I couldn't resist. There's nothing that can't be cured with corn dogs, I told him. It would be impossible for him not to have fun. He tried to resist, but by the time we got to the high striker strongman game, he was smiling. I got the high score and won him a big purple bear. He thanked me for cheering him up, and he confessed that he wished Charlotte had been as kind to him as I was. Romance was in the air. Maybe it was the bright lights of the Ferris wheel or the smell of corn dogs, but I wanted more than anything to kiss him. Still, I was afraid. But when I decided to get on the ride and we were in the air alone, he put his lips to mine. He admitted to having feelings for me, and deep inside, I was doing cartwheels. We both agreed that kissing in the sky was magical. Some people looked at us like the odd couple, but we didn't care. I didn't want the night to end. There was a strange electricity in the air. That night after we split, he was all I could think about, and dare I say, I felt like I was in love. But the next day, he didn't call or text at all. I wrote about a dozen drafted texts that I never sent, and I was checking my phone obsessively. Be the cool girl, I kept telling myself. Be patient. But the day passed, and then another. He even missed our next workout date. I went from in love to impatient and now irritated. He was being such a big, huge jerk face. I couldn't stand being ignored. Was he just messing with me? Had he changed his mind? I told myself to ignore him back, and if he didn't have the time for me, it was his loss. Almost a month later, I saw him. Cameron was back at the gym where we first met. I couldn't believe he had the audacity to show his face around me. And then he pretended not to know me or something. I couldn't take it any longer, and I marched over to him and told him what I thought of him. I called him all kinds of names, including a coward, and he just stood there, staring at me like a deer in headlights. And then he handed me a laminated card that said, "Please excuse me, I'm suffering from amnesia, and just because I don't remember you doesn't mean that I don't care." "Is this some kind of joke?" I asked. "Are you messing with me?" "No joke," he said. One day about a month ago, he woke up in the hospital without any memory of how he'd gotten there. With the help of doctors and family, he was able to piece together certain facts. They told him he had gotten into an accident, and it may take time for him to regain his memories. There was even a chance that they wouldn't ever come back. His personal memories had been wiped. He asked me to fill him in on our past together. I told him we were dating and that I had feelings for him, and I believed he had feelings for me. He couldn't remember meeting me or training with me, and he didn't remember our dates. I told him that he was important to me and I wanted to help. That night, I called him. It was like it was before when we'd chat the night away, and thank goodness his personality was the same. But he hated being in the dark all the time, which is how he talked about his amnesia. We'd have to start over, but Cameron was worth it. So we made a date for the weekend. But about a few hours before we were supposed to go out, I got a text that said, "I don't think I can see you. I have a girlfriend." A girlfriend? What? I didn't understand. And I went over to his house to talk to him, but guess who was there? It was Charlotte. Cameron was all flustered when he saw me at the door. He said that Charlotte was his girlfriend and she was able to prove it with all of these photos. I tried to tell him that they had broken up and she had cheated on him. But by that point, Charlotte was already out there squawking about how I needed to leave. And it took all my restraint not to pound her. I went home about to give up. But when I read up on amnesia, I discovered that sometimes physical places can help jog a memory. I wanted to do something, but I felt helpless. But then I saw the lights of the carnival driving home one evening. They were back again, and I took it as a sign. I couldn't give up easily, and I concocted this plan to jog Cameron's memory with a repeat date. I sent Cameron a text and told him I could prove it. I asked him to meet me at the carnival grounds late that night if he wanted the truth. I wasn't sure he'd show. And just as I was about to give up and go home, I saw his goofy smile. I told him about our last date and we retraced our steps. I was hoping he'd remember something, but he didn't. Not the corn dogs, not winning him another teddy bear. There was only one more real shot, and that was the Ferris wheel. As we rose in the sky, I told him about how we didn't care if we were the odd couple. And I said I had never felt this kind of connection with anyone. And when he reached the top, I kissed him. As our lips parted, he looked me in the eye and said the sky was magical. "You remember?" I asked. His memory was pouring back. Not just the kiss or the magical sky, but the whole shebang. He remembered our workout and me getting my car towed and Charlotte cheating on him. The truth came back. He knew now that she was his ex and was using his amnesia to weasel her way back into the relationship. But he wasn't going to let her. And he knew for sure who his true friends were and who his true love was. He texted first thing in the morning, and all seemed right in the world. Cameron got me a bracelet and had it engraved. It read, "Where there is love, there is no darkness." He said my love brought him out of the darkness and cured his amnesia. Well, that's kind of what love does. It finds a way to put the magic into the sky and into people's lives. Once armed with the truth, Cameron was able to tell Charlotte goodbye for good. And I had my love on my arm, and all to myself. Has love ever brought you out of the darkness? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, You're sharing wisdom.